Good morning. I think our clock in the sanctuary is a little slow, but we're going with the real time. My name is Stacy Kopsha, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm a member of your Board of Trustees. I welcome everyone here in the sanctuary and joining us online via Zoom. I also wish everyone a belated happy solstice, which was yesterday, the longest day. So summer's officially here. Unitarian Universalists are a community of people who hold many beliefs, many origins, identities, genders, and sexualities. We uphold and celebrate the inherent dignity of every person, which means that you are all welcome here, just as you are. Love is the power that holds us together. We gather in community to seek life's deeper meaning and to celebrate the diversity of all living things. We are all growing and learning from each other. If you are here for the first time, I bid you a special welcome. We're glad you are here. After the service, I'll be in the back of the sanctuary to answer any questions you have that I'm capable of answering, or I could direct you in the right spot. I encourage you to look up our website, tahomauu.com. On there, you'll see a link to our newsletter, which has announcements and updates as to what's going on in the congregation. We have several things to highlight. I think Patty has an announcement to make. Patty coordinates our art in the sanctuary, and as you look around, it looks really bare today. So she has some news to share with us.
Yes, we had a little bit of a snafu, and the artist that I had kind of scheduled did a no-show on me, and I want to thank Hugo Morrow for stepping up. He has been attending pretty regularly for the last few months, lives right across the street, and I think you're really going to enjoy his work. I'm very excited about it. Watch for it next week.
Thank you, Patty. Let's see, a few things to highlight. We are in need of volunteers, always in need of volunteers, specifically for the worship committee. And what they're looking for are people to serve as celebrants, as online chaplains, and also worship associates. Chris C. Kim helps lead the committee for there. So if you're interested, please ask her. And the other one is RE volunteers. We need I think 4 volunteers each week. It depends how many kids we have. But to keep our kids' programs running, we need volunteers to support that. If you do need a background check, so check with Sean Chitty, the admin, to get approved for that. And I'm really pushing for, if everyone in our congregation chose 1 volunteer spot to fill, I think that would be a huge asset to our congregation. I know people who run these committees, a lot of the stress is running around trying to find people, volunteers, to get things done. So maybe make a point of just sign up. And I'm celebrant today. It's really out of my comfort zone, but I'm like, if I can do it, surely anyone can do it. So anyways, I encourage you to push your comfort levels and try something new for support the congregation. There's also a board meeting this Thursday, and it's right here in the sanctuary. It starts at 6:30 and is open to the congregation. So if you guys are curious to see what happens for board meetings, just come and observe. You don't have to stay for the whole time, but it's a good way to see how things run. And we will be switching over to our new board for this fiscal year. There's a camping trip coming up on August, I think, 22, and David Pettit is in charge of that. There's a Pride booth at Tacoma Pride, which is on July 12th. And Michael has a sign up. They're looking for volunteers to help run the booth and set it up and take it down. And there's also a new Zoom link for our folks on Zoom, or those in here who attend via Zoom, that is going to be live on July 6th. So make sure you look on the e-news or the website for the new link. And I think there's lots more going on, but that's it for brevity. You're invited to join us for social hour immediately following service over there. If you're new to the congregation and you would like to invite people for conversation, you can pick up a red mug. If you want to be incognito, you can just use a regular white one. If you are someone who needs large print hymnals or hearing assistance devices, they're located in the back of the sanctuary. As we begin the service in this place we call Tahoma, I would like to give our land acknowledgement. I acknowledge that we meet today on the land of the Coast Salish people, including the Puyallup tribal nations, land from which they were forcibly displaced. I honor the resiliency of the indigenous people and stand with them as they continue to fight for their culture, their land, water, visibility, sovereignty, and their very existence. Lastly, I invite you to set your electronic devices to worship mode. Close your eyes for 1 minute. Take a deep breath. In and out. Settle into this holy moment of sharing and receiving. Let us join together in worship. I'm also going to be your celebrant for today. Our opening words are a call and response reading that can be found in the gray hymnal, and it's number 548. So I will read the non-italic and you guys read the italic. Actually, I'm going to read both so people online can hear it. So, but if you guys can chime in for the italic portion. Summer warmth. We stand at the edge of summer. The sun at last warmed us enough that we begin to trust in its presence. The last burst of spring blossoms, lavender and white and deep pink, banks of rhododendrons, are giving way to summer peonies and roses. O source of the turning season, of earth, of life, of promise gradually becoming fulfilled. May your people find a lightening of the burdens with the brightening of the sky. I would like to invite Jeff to light our chalice. So Jeff is a first-time visitor, so a special welcome to Jeff. He is a friend of Lauren, who's directing our choir among many other active roles, and he's here to support her. I think it's a rite of passage that the first time you light the chalice, it never goes well. If you'll join me in the opening words. We light this chalice in deep respect for the mystery and holiness of life, honor and gratitude for those who've gone before, with love and compassion for those who dwell among us, and with hope and faith for the generations to come. Please join in the opening hymn, number 73, Chant for the Seasons. And I believe our choir is going to lead us in that.
We're only doing the line that's for summer since it's summer solstice, and we will be repeating that twice. So that verse is what we're singing today, and it is in your great hymnal, hymn number 73. Thank you, Marianne.
Birds have turned the star, summer is upon
For those young and young at heart, I enjoy you to come to the front of the sanctuary and sit down for our Time for All Ages. It will be a video that is going to show on the screen behind me where the wild things are.
The night Max wore his wolf suit and made mischief of one kind and another. His mother called him Wild Thing, and Max said, "I'll eat you up." So he was sent to bed without eating anything. That very night in Max's room a forest grew, and grew, and grew until his ceiling hung with vines and the walls became the world all around. And an ocean tumbled by with a private boat for Max, and he sailed off through night and day. And in and out of weeks and almost a year to where the wild things are. And when he came to the place where the wild things are, they roared their terrible roars. They gnashed their terrible teeth and rolled their terrible eyes and showed their terrible claws. Till Max said, "Be still," and tamed them with the magic trick of staring into all their yellow eyes without blinking once. And they were frightened and called him the most wild thing of all, and made him the king of all wild things. "And now," cried Max, "let the wild rumpus start!" "Now stop," Max said, and sent the wild things off to bed without their supper. And Max, the king of all wild things, was lonely, and wanted to be where someone loved him best of all. Then all around, from far away across the world, he smelled good things to eat. So he gave up being king of where the wild things are. But the wild things cried, "Oh, please don't go. We'll eat you up. We love you so." And Max said, "No." The wild things roared their terrible roars, and gnashed their terrible teeth, and rolled their terrible eyes, and showed their terrible claws. But Max stepped into his private boat and waved goodbye, and sailed back over a year, in and out of weeks, and through a day, and into the night of his very own room, where he found his supper waiting for him. And it was still hot. The end.
If you'll join me in singing the kids out. And today the kids just go into the side room there. Cindy Hackett's going to be our volunteer.
And now is the time where we invite you to be generous and help support Tahoma UU. You can give in the sanctuary, or if you prefer, you can go online to tahomauu.com, and there is a button that says give. And you click on that, and I believe there's something else that says donate, not sure anymore. Anyway, if you click your way through, it will walk you through the steps, and you can give online. Thanks so much.
You could join me in our dedication for our offering. We dedicate ourselves and our offerings to the work of this congregation, weaving a tapestry of love we call community, both within and beyond these walls.
So the lyrics for this will be up on the screen. This is not in the hymnal, but please feel free to join us. I will be gentle with myself, I will love myself. I am a child of the universe, being born each moment. I will be gentle with myself, I will love myself. I am a child of the universe, being born each moment. I will be gentle with myself, I will love myself. I am a child of the universe, being born each moment. I will be gentle with myself, I will love myself. I am a child of the universe, being born each moment. I will be gentle with myself, I will love myself. I am a child of the universe, being born each moment. I will be gentle with myself, I will love myself. I am a child of the universe, being born each moment. I will be gentle with myself, I will love myself. I am a child of the universe, being born each moment.
Welcome to all you children of the universe. This reading comes from George Odell, the poet. We need one another. We need one another when we mourn and want comfort. We need one another when we are in trouble and are afraid. We need one another when we are in despair and temptation and need to be recalled to our best selves again. We need one another when we strive to accomplish some great purpose and realize we cannot do it alone. We need one another in the hour of success when we look for someone to share our triumphs. We need one another in our hour of defeat when with encouragement we try to endure and stand again. We need one another when we come to die and seek gentle hands to prepare us for the journey. All our lives we are in need, and others are in need of us. My name is Chuck Hall. I am the chair, as of yesterday, officially, of the Covenant of Unitarian Universalist Pagans. What that means is it's a group within the Unitarian Universalist Church composed of people who practice a nature-centered form of spirituality. Sometimes they're called pagans. Sometimes we're just called nature-centered folks. Sometimes we're just called tree huggers. So if you're one of those, welcome. I've been a practicing pagan since the 1970s. I discovered Wicca in 1976 and then discovered Druidry in 1978. I'm a member of an organization called the Reformed Druids of Gaia, if you're familiar with that. I won't go too much into what Druidry is and what it means, but if any of you have any questions, you can ask me later and I'll be glad to explain. And yesterday was the summer solstice. At this time of year in the Northern Hemisphere, pagans all over the world celebrate the summer solstice, and some folks who are not pagans also celebrate it. And it's also known as Litha or Midsummer among some pagan groups. It's one of the times of the year when the veil between the worlds is the thinnest and the fairies come out to play. It's when the wild rompus begins. And if you don't believe in fairies, get with me after the service and we'll go on a fairy hunt and I'll introduce you to a few. As the longest day and the shortest night of the year, it's celebrated as a time of abundance and vitality and triumph of the light. At this time of the year, the sun reaches its peak power before beginning to wane again until days and nights, the nights get longer and the days get shorter again until the winter solstice when it flips again. Many pagan traditions honor the sun or solar deities and give thanks for the life-giving energy of the sun and the fertility at this time of the year. And that honoring of solar deities can be literal or symbolic. That's up to, in paganism, that's up to the individual to decide. And some of these pagan celebrations at this time of year include bonfires, feasting, dancing, offerings to nature spirits or to sacred ancestors. We were planning one yesterday for cups, but we got rained out, so. We were talking earlier, I don't mind the rain myself, but I know that some folks do. I was talking to one of the other folks in the congregation and we were saying that there's no such thing as bad weather, there's only bad gear. But I don't want to make that decision for everybody in cups, so I decided to go ahead and cancel it and we'll try again when the weather is more amenable. Symbolically, the summer solstice represents a moment of fullness and illumination, the brightness of the sun. The sun at full power this time of year is a metaphor for spiritual enlightenment. It's a time to pause, reflect on growth, and begin the gradual journey toward the darker half of the year. It's a celebration of light, community, and the sacred balances of the cycles of nature. So as we celebrate the summer solstice in alignment with this month's Unitarian Universalist theme, meeting the moment, I invite you to consider this question. What does it mean to meet the moment with courage, with compassion, and with inclusion? Meeting the moment is a spiritual imperative, not just a social justice imperative. It's a rallying cry, and it's also a spiritual mandate. We're living in a time of deep uncertainty, politically, socially, environmentally. All around us, chaos seems to be breaking out. We see the rising tides of authoritarianism, attacks on bodily autonomy, growing anti-LGBTQ violence and legislation, and systemic racism that refuses to go away. This isn't a moment for passive or shallow reflection or lip service to unity. It's a time for bold action and decisive courage. To meet the moment as Unitarian Universalists means we must respond not with fear, but with love, and not with exclusion, but with radical inclusion. It means looking around our congregation and asking with courage, who's not here and why not? And what are we going to do about it? For those of you who attended the congregational meeting recently, over the last couple of years, the congregation has almost doubled in size in the wake of COVID and the rebuilding that we had to go through. And that's great. That's a good start. But I'd like to keep that momentum going by looking around and saying, who isn't here? Who do we need to welcome more? Inclusion is a solstice practice as well among pagan circles. We always try to draw a circle wide enough for everyone who's interested and wants to be a part of it. As people throughout the Northern Hemisphere celebrate the summer solstice while the sun is at its peak, it's a time to remember the light in whatever way that metaphor functions for you. As a metaphor for inclusion and spiritual practice, the power of the sun at midsummer provides a time of clarity. It's a time when we can see more clearly if we're willing to look and to open our eyes. So one of the things I'd like to challenge you to think about today is, who does your light shine on? Who's not shining in your light? And what would you need to do to focus that light on them? It's time to take an honest look at the tendency, even in liberal and progressive religious congregations to create boundaries of belonging. This often manifests as a tendency to draw our circles in ways that always don't widen to include each other. So what people are we leaving out when we draw those circles, and how can we broaden those circles to make them a little wider so that everyone feels included? When we say all are welcome, is that truly the experience for all people? Do we include people of color, disabled folks, trans and non-binary people, queer youth, and those recovering from trauma or who have been estranged from more fundamentalist religious practices? Inclusion isn't a passive act, and it's not just about opening the door and hoping somebody walks in. It's about actively reaching out and restructuring our spaces and challenging the language we use to talk about those things, so that people on the margins know that this place is not just for them, but with them, by them, and inspired by their truths as well. So ask yourself, what is my growing edge? What is a group that I have a hard time including? When I was in graduate school, that was one of the assignments that we had. What is our growing edge as a therapist? Who are we leaving out? What populations couldn't we work with? And how do we do better with that? One of mine was fundamentalist Christianity. For those of you who don't know me well, I moved here, my wife and I moved here from South Carolina 5 years ago. And we had saw a lot of the damage that fundamentalist ideals were doing to people around that area. And it also personally impacted my family. Some of my family members chose not to talk to me anymore because of my work in the LGBTQ community. And so this is a personal thing for me. It's a difficult topic for me to discuss sometimes. But the idea here is that there are people among that group that actually do what Jesus taught. And one of the people that I encountered during my graduate school program is the only other male in the graduate school program that I was in my particular cohort. For some reason, therapists seem to be more female. But this guy was a Southern Baptist minister. And when I first met him, I was like, oh no, here we go. He's going to use his religion as a weapon. And it turned out he was one of the most compassionate, one of the most gentle, one of the most loving people I ever met. He was active in the local pride parade. He worked for social change. He preached out from the pulpit about these things, and sometimes he suffered for it. He had some folks who were kind of angry at him about it, but he didn't let that stop him. He stuck fast to his beliefs. So my growing edge there was to maybe not let my assumptions shade how I judge other people. So my challenge for you today is just to think about, what assumptions do you make about people that you encounter? And how could you subtly change those assumptions so that you're able to include them in your circle? Now, there's a caveat involved here too. The dangers of playing it safe means that we have to do more than just be tolerant. It means doing more than just being polite. Tolerance alone isn't justice, and politeness alone isn't freedom or liberation. And inclusion is not just about meeting the moment. Too often, we seek comfort. We choose to do the easy thing because it's not necessarily stretching our boundaries or working on that growing edge. So, for example, if you're at work and someone tells a racist joke, or if someone makes some sort of judgment against a person who might have a different sexual orientation or a different religious practice, do you speak up, or do you just let it slide in the interest of doing the easy thing? And being an advocate for unity is not always easy. I struggle with it myself sometimes. But a unity built on silence in the face of oppression isn't unity, it's just avoidance. So meeting the moment through inclusion isn't a political agenda. It's not something exclusive to the left or the right. It's a spiritual agenda. So sometimes when we rush to welcome all, we've also fallen for the trap of tolerating the intolerable. And this is where things get a little dicey. It's a fine line to walk. Being inclusive doesn't mean being inclusive of hateful ideologies. There's a concept called the paradox of tolerance. And what this means is if a society is tolerant without limit, this ability to be tolerant will eventually be destroyed by intolerant people. If we tolerate things like racism, homophobia, sexism, those sorts of things, then we're eventually going to become what we should not be tolerating, if that makes sense. So when we are so tolerant as a society that we allow people to express all views, even those that are intolerant, we've fallen into the paradox of tolerance. If the intolerant are given free rein to spread their views and grow in power, they'll eventually suppress the rights of others, as we see happening in many places around the world right now, and dismantle our democratic systems and eliminate tolerance for any ideology but their own. So the paradox of tolerance is that by tolerating every behavior, eventually we fall into intolerance. A truly tolerant and inclusive society must reserve the right to be intolerant of intolerance. That's the paradox, especially when the intolerance leads to violence, coercion, or the undermining of democracy. When we rise up to meet the moment through inclusion, we're not called to be comfortable. That's the hard part. We're not called to tolerate the intolerable. We're called to be courageous, and we're not called to preserve institutions. We are called to transform lives. And that's the one thing that I hope that everyone here is willing and able to do, to transform lives in some small way. Unitarian Universalism is rooted in the radical belief in the inherent worth and dignity of all people. So meeting the moment means creating a place where everyone belongs, not just those who fit into our own preconceived cultural norms, not just those who speak a certain way or dress a certain way. And what it means is welcoming those whose very presence expands our understanding of the divine, however we choose to conceptualize that, of each other and of ourselves. This is one of my favorite topics, Norse mythology. For those of you familiar with Norse mythology, Odin, the father of all the gods, traveled in disguise in his search for wisdom. And there's a parable there that when you're meeting a stranger on the road, you should always treat them with hospitality, because you never know when you might be entertaining Odin in disguise. So meeting the moment means treating every stranger we meet as if they're family. It means treating others the way we'd like to be treated, as if they might be divinity in disguise. So when we do so, we'll be meeting the moment with compassion, with empathy, and with respect for the inherent worth and dignity of all people. So I have a solstice challenge for you. As we celebrate Midsummer and the solstice, even though it happened yesterday, we were having a long weekend with it. I invite each of us to ask, number one, who are you called to welcome more deeply? Think about that. What are your growing edges? Who are the people that you have a difficult time welcoming, and what can you do to change that? And again, that doesn't mean tolerating intolerable behavior. It just means presenting things in a way that you can include them into the circle. What assumptions are keeping you from welcoming those folks into your circle? Have you made assumptions? When I was talking earlier about grad school, my growing edge, I'd made assumptions that all Baptists were going to use their religion as a weapon for hate and that sort of thing. Found out differently. How can we as a congregation widen our circle, not just in word, but in structure and signage, leadership, practice, gender inclusive restrooms, signage, any of the 1,001 little ways that people perceive our congregation for the first time walking through the door? We have some first-time visitors here. I think we saw a couple. So I won't put you on the spot and ask you this, but if you after the service is over, get together with somebody and tell them what struck you when you first walked in, what gave you the first impression of our congregation. So what I'd like to do is do a little exercise here. Meeting the moment doesn't mean retreating into what's familiar. It means kind of stretching yourself, going out and expanding your horizons a little bit, being willing to meet people where they're at. So everybody stand up, please, if you're able to. And find somebody you don't know very well or you don't know at all, and get with them. Just pair up into couples there and introduce yourself, number one. Okay, now that we've had time to kind of introduce ourselves, what I want you to do is one person in the group be the speaker and look at the other people in the group and say the following. You are seen, you are loved, you belong. And then when one person has said that, the other person have a turn. And again, it's you are seen, you are loved, you belong. Okay. Okay. So what was that experience like for everyone? Did you feel more welcome? Okay. Did it help you to feel a part of something larger than yourself? Loud enough. I need to work on my gong skills. For those of us who were raised on the gong show, that's kind of a traumatic sound. Yeah. So as we leave here today, we want you to remember that feeling and take it with you into the larger world, and just how, a few seconds there might have helped you to feel more welcome. Now let's take a moment to center ourselves. We're going to do something called setting an intention. Just allow all the thoughts in your head to just come to the present moment. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes. Now, picture the sun at its peak, blazing over a great circle. In that circle are people of every race, every gender, every orientation, every ability, and every age. Some of those people are dancing, some are singing, some are praying, some are resting, some are crying, some are singing, some might even be engaged in the wild rompus. You're standing among them. You're a part of them. You're not a host. You're not a gatekeeper. You're a fellow traveler. Reach out your hand and someone you've never met, takes it. Together you step into the light. You meet the moment together in unity and in strength, knowing that we all need each other. Now hold that image in your heart and carry it forth with you as you leave today. You can open your eyes now. As we leave this space and return to our lives, go forth to the fullness of the solstice sun, not to preserve what is, but to imagine and to build what can be. Let your light guide you to the margins, to those who have been left out, and bring them into the circle as well. Let your faith be fierce. Let your courage be abundant. We're not called to be comfortable. We're called to act with courage. Let your welcome be wide. And may we all meet this moment not with fear, but with love.
Please open your gray hymnals and join in the closing song. which is number, I think, 328. I sought the wood in summer.
Thank you, choir. And thank you, Chuck and Stacy. I'm going to be reading the closing words. I wrote this last week, and it's actually just a poem that I wrote inspired by us being at the protest at the Capitol, but also just what's going on in the world right now. And I'm going to be turning it into a new rock song for my band, but in the meantime, it's just a poem right now, so it's in like its most raw form. But it seems to go along with what we've been talking about today, so we decided to throw it in there last minute. It's called When It All Comes Crashing Down. When it all comes crashing down, will you just be caught standing around? Do you have a plan? Does it include your fellow man? When it all comes crashing down, or woman also. Will you look out for yourself, or will you look out for others? Will you do what you're conditioned to do, or will you do what's right in the face of destruction? The divide and conquer tactics have worked very well for centuries. What we're experiencing right now is not new, but the technology that fuels it is. The sad part is we're human beings that deserve basic rights. And when those rights are stripped away, we have nothing left but war and envy and brutality. Let us not let the greed of the elite infect our minds. Let us not turn on our fellow American in the most trying of times. We never were needing to be made great again. But what we need to do is learn from the mistakes of colonial, racist, oppressive behavior and rebuild a better space with liberty and justice for all, not just the ones who make the rules or have all the money. So I ask you to raise your fist and stand tall with me and for us all. There's only one way out of this mess, and that's together, with our chins held high, our arm in arm, in unity. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. You'll invite me, or I invite you to join me in saying the words as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. If you would like to stand and join in our closing blessing song, the words are on the screen.